Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Business Africa. I am Afolake Oyinloye. The week's top stories in business include EU launches Economic Development Fund for Africa, Togo to increase soybeans production, and Zimbabwe levels 15% value-added tax on basic foodstuffs. The EU has $47 billion fund for Africa. The African Economic Development Fund is to help accelerate African countries' economic growth. But most importantly, it will help reduce the migrant numbers moving into Europe. Michael DB and William Bahia with the details.
The European Union has announced a launch of a $47.76 billion African Economic Development Fund aimed at helping Nigeria and other African countries drive economic growth and development. With the new development, Nigeria and some other African countries' hope of attracting foreign investment have been renewed by the EU. According to the Vice President of EU Digital Single Market, Andros Asip, the EU is already developing a strategic framework for the implementation and disbursement of the fund. He maintained that the EU is also designing security measures to ensure the fund is effectively and efficiently disbursed. He said the fund could go a long way in reducing the number of refugees who seek greener pastures in European countries, noting that in the last 2 years, Europe has experienced the greatest mass of movement of people since the Second World War. Asip said the fund will further assist both the EU and Nigeria explore opportunities in the nation's digital economy with a view to deepening investment in the area as well as possible partnership. Asip in a press conference explained that the fund, which could be made available for disbursement in first quarter 2018 as credit money, is designed to help developing economies cover identified risks to attract foreign direct investment. More than 1 million refugees and migrants have arrived in Europe, while the EU has agreed on a range of measures to deal with the crisis. Italy launched a new fund of $260 million last Wednesday to help African countries control their borders, in the latest of a slew of measures pushed by the European Union to stop migrants reaching Europe. EU leaders on Friday gave their backing to the new drive to stem African migration to Europe. It includes stepping up training of Libya's Coast Guard and financing for the EU agencies for refugees and migration to improve the conditions of migrants.
We have a financial expert on the line joining us from Ontario, Canada, Mr. Sheikh Tidiane Diaye. Welcome to the program. Now, how can this fund be optimized for it to bring results, in your opinion?
First, there are a number of preconditions. The prerequisite is to see the sport and the existence in each country. What is planned by the authorities in this framework? It should not be dropped without a diagnostic and a partnership with the local authorities so that there is no overlap. So, it is the first step. Once this is done, in these areas, the authorities have put in place their own merits because it exists in certain countries such as Senegal. And it integrates this project with a national counterpart, but also have a cell which is studying without the priorities. Examine the projects that are most viable. For me, it is agriculture. The priority of Africa is agriculture. Food sustenance, the control of water, the equilibrium of the balance of payment, the balance of which has been affected by the importation of food products. So it will have a double effect. The balance of payment of the countries concerned and to curb immigration with all that is entails, as well for local authorities in life or for the recipient countries, which must also invest to accommodate these refugees or save them in the sea.
Are there already measures being taken to reduce this upstream of migrants in Europe?
Absolutely. These young people are desperate. The unemployed rate is extremely high. I will give you an example. I have done a survey once with youth of 20 to 30 years old, asking them questions. The questions were the following. Make a priorities among these points. Would you prefer to have a good training, have a job, be well cared for, and be well housed, be well fed, etc.? Any sensible human could have thought that they would think on the priorities of training and employment. But can you imagine the priority for them was to have well cared for, then to be well fed, and then to be well housed, and then after the training and employment? What does this mean? It means that these young people have lost hope that training could lead to employment and that they could obtain a day's job. Therefore, they want to be attended to, because to say that one wants to be well cared for and well fed, well housed, and after then comes training and employment, it means that they want to be attended to and that it has lost hope of finding a job or that the training is not tailored to employment in this country. So there should be a parallel fashion to take accompanying measures.
Well, thanks for joining us. Later on this program, we'll be taking you to Togo, where the country is looking for ways to optimize soybeans production as demand soars. Details right after this break.